Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. This video is about my indie palette wish list. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. Today I'm kicking off a little series I'm doing this week, which is all about indie makeup, indie eyeshadow palettes mainly, because that's what I like to try most. And I thought I could kick it off by telling you all about some indie eyeshadow palettes that I would like to buy in the future, in the near future, very, very soon. Sometimes also a little bit later down the line. Some of these I'm a little bit undecided about, so I'm gonna need your help. I've got 15 palettes to chat about with you, so let's just get stuck in. Before we get into the video, it may be good to know who I am and what I like doing on this channel. My name is Maaike, I live in the Netherlands, I have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone, and this greatly influences how I feel about makeup. I have been reviewing makeup for more than a decade. I love trying out eyeshadow palettes, accessories, and getting the use out of my makeup. So if that's something you're interested in as well, then I hope you'd like to consider subscribing. First things first, I need to mention what I consider to be an indie palette. Of course, there is a definition for what indie makeup is. Indie stands for independently owned makeup. So it's any brand that is not owned by like a bigger company. So it's much more about a business structure, you could say, when we label something as indie, rather than whether the brand makes their own products. That used to be the case with indie makeup. It used to be like handcrafted at someone's kitchen table. It no longer is. A lot of indie brands now buy formulas, and you can start your own makeup brand if you put some money up front and you buy the formula from, for instance, China, which is what a lot of indie makeup brands do. But they are independently owned, so that still makes them an indie brand. And with indie makeup, we often get other things than we get from mainstream brands. And the line between what can be like a mainstream brand that is owned by like a large conglomerate can be a little bit like unclear. So if any of the videos this week I'm showing you, there are palettes that I'm showing you or talking about that you feel aren't indie, then that's fine. I don't always know 100% what the company structure of companies are. I don't look into it too much. So if I've purchased something from a brand that I feel is indie, then I put it in these videos. So I'm not using a super strict, definition of the word indie here. I just feel that if it's like mentioned a lot within the indie makeup community, which I follow quite a bit of, then I sort of feature them here. But with some of these things, I'm gonna be very, very honest with you that I'm not always 100% sure what the financing structure of certain companies is, and I therefore do not know whether everyone would consider them to be indie or not, just so you know. So let me just get a very obvious one out of the way first, because this is a wish list. I'll be popping up some pictures up on the screen so you can see what I'm talking about. It's the new GlossGods release. So this was announced in like early May. It's the Let's Get Nude, and this is actually on my wish list to buy for like the next round of purchases that I'll be doing. So this is definitely going to get purchased. I already know that. I'm already like in my brain awarding budget towards this purchase for like May, June time. So like I think at the end of the month I might be able to make this purchase, or maybe like halfway June-ish, that sort of time. So I definitely space out my spending. I never buy everything in one go. And the GlossGods one is definitely one I would like to get. I'm currently pretty into my warm tones, even though I'm wearing quite a dark, smoky, cool toned eye today. But I'm really digging warm tones at the minute. And when I had to select what eyeshadow palettes to select for May, I went back to some of my favorite warm tone palettes that I'm currently playing with, which makes me super happy. And I was sort of thinking like, now that I'm in warm tones, I might want to add one more thing to my collection. And then this was announced, and I was like, as if they read my mind. So the GlossGods Let's Get Nude, with a lot of like warm brown tones, but also some rosy things, it seems. I think I'm going to like it. Some people have already told me like that it's pretty like gold bronze heavy, And one commenter said that it reminds them of the Natasha Denona bronze palette, which I personally don't own. But yeah, I definitely think it can satisfy that itch for something new in the warm tone category. I've decolored a lot of my warm tones over the past couple of years, and I've only hung on onto the things that I truly, truly love. So I hope to be able to add something in a formula that I know I'll enjoy in a warm color story as well. If you saw my most recent eyeshadow palette review video, then you know I tried some Ensley Rain. Finally, I was able to try some Ensley Rain, and Ensley Rain is a brand that's quite expensive, but their Harvest Moon palette is still pulling on my heartstrings. Do I need this in my life? Absolutely not. I've now tried the brand. I know what I like from the brand. I like the Lens of Enchantment a little bit more than I do my Cold Moon. And yet still, the Harvest Moon is still one I'm eyeing up. Why am I eyeing it up? Because it seems to have mainly shimmers, which I love. It's also got a very nice grungy, like deeper base, and a lot of people have been telling me in my comments how much they love theirs. So now I'm like, you know what? If this comes back into stock on Monolith at some point, I might want to pick it up. Not anytime soon, because I now have my Ensley Rain fill, and this Harvest Moon palette is much more of like a fall color story for me. So that's why I would purchase that more towards like September, October time, not anytime soon. I wouldn't be buying those, like I wouldn't wear those kind of shades right now for summer. Then we have one where I'm like, is this an indie brand? Is it not? I'm not entirely sure. But Lisa Eldridge, like there are some luxury brands that aren't owned by like an Estee Lauder or anything like that. And as far as I know, the Lisa Eldridge brand is not owned by any of those big companies. I have read somewhere, I think it was on Reddit, that when she launched her foundation shades, she got an external investor into the company to help launch all of those foundation shades. And I'm like, I feel that does no longer makes it indie, because it's still sort of like its own little thing, and it's not part of like a L'Oreal or an Estee Lauder, and like they're still like the people who originated their brand calling the shots. You know what I mean? So that's why I am putting a bit of Lisa Eldridge in here, because of course I love my Lisa Eldridge stuff. And there is still one of the palettes that is on my wish list, and Lisa Eldridge's Myth eyeshadow palette, the purple one. I have Vega, I have Sorcery. This one has been out of stock. This is why I feel Lisa Eldridge is still very much an indie brand, because they definitely struggle keeping things in stock. I was finally able to pick up the final shade in the Velveteens. I had been able to purchase all the other ones over time, but some of the shades had been out of stock for months, and this is what tells me that the brand is still quite small and it doesn't have the ability to keep a lot of the products that they sell in stock all the time. And that definitely goes for this eyeshadow palette as well. And it's a formula I really enjoy. And Myth is one where I'm like, yeah, I have that one, and I don't see her coming out with any new eyeshadow palettes anytime soon. Then I have the three that I think are going to be like my favorite ones, you could say. I think I really enjoy the purples that are in here. Speaking of a purple palette, Melt just recently announced the Smoke Sessions 2. This is already out, but so far it only seems to be available through the Melt official website. My safest bet purchasing Melt is through Beauty Bay. So when this comes to Beauty Bay, I will be picking it up, but it could be months. I don't think Beauty Bay is as on point with brands releases like from other brands than their own as they used to be. At least that's the impression I'm getting. So I'm waiting quite impatiently for this to make its way to a retailer that allows me to buy it without having to pay all the shipping and handling fees. That's definitely what I'm looking for. I have purchased from the Melt official website in the past, and the shipping just kills you. It makes the palette twice as expensive, and I think that if I get it from Beauty Bay, it will be marked up slightly because of Brexit, but at least they know they have like put the VAT and like all of the custom fees into the price that you see listed on the website, and then you just add the shipping costs and you're fine. So with the Melt Smoke Sessions, I know I will get this at some point, but No clue yet when I will be able to pick it up, but I know I want to try this. It's got some stunning purples in. It seems to have only one true warm toned blue, like warmer toned rosy purple, and everything is this like blue, cooler tone purple. And I haven't seen a brand do anything like this in a while. So I was like, yes. And I love Melt's formula as well. So can't say no to that. Then another obvious one that has just recently been announced that I want to get is the Sigma Cool Neutrals. Is Sigma an indie brand? They kind of feel indie to me anyways. As far as I know, Sigma doesn't have like a big company behind them either. The Cool Neutrals palette is one that is very, very much divided. Like, a lot of people say this isn't cool toned enough. Why did you call it Cool Neutrals? But if we just look at the color story, I think it has a really interesting blend of like warmer mustardy shades with some really nice cool tones and a bit of rose. And it just looks like a palette that I really, really might enjoy. I do enjoy some of the Sigma formula, not all the time, but the Sigma Cool Neutrals is definitely one that stands out to me as something I would like to try. Again, waiting for it to come to a European retailer. It's currently only available on the Sigma website, so I'm waiting for this to be spread out to other retailers because there are some that stock Sigma near me. Douglas is one. I think Boozy Shop has it. Beauty Bay has it. So my wish, my hope, what I'm praying for will happen is that Beauty Bay stocks both the Melt and the Sigma at the same time, and I can pick up both at the same time so I can save a little bit on shipping. I've mentioned this palette a lot. I'm still very much on the fence about this one. This is the Cosmic Brushes Muse palette. Part of me still wants this. I've mentioned it when I did an eyeshadow palette video in April talking about like eyeshadow palettes that got away from me that I didn't pick up, and I'm still undecided about this because part of me wants it, but part of me knows that I don't need it. I don't need this in my life. So it's still on the wish list. It's still sort of like nagging at my brain. Maybe if I can find a good deal on this, maybe it ends up in a Black Friday sale by the end of the year and I might snatch it up. I don't think I would want to pay full price for this. That's sort of how I feel by now. But so far, I haven't seen any sort of discounts on Cosmic Brushes palettes because they are doing really well. So they're selling out all the time. So I don't think there will be any discounts anytime soon. Then Clarity Cosmetics. This is a brand that is now stocked on Monolith, which is where I get a lot of my US-based indie brands from nowadays. And they restock them quite regularly. And I had their what was it called? Evil Mermaid palette? I think that's what it was called. It was a 9-pan. But that was in stock, and then I wasn't sure about the website yet because I hadn't shopped through them yet. So I bought one thing just to try them, and then this went out of stock and it never came back. So it's definitely a brand I want to try. I bought the Deadly Roses palette last month. So that's in my current, no, it's not yet in my current to try pile. I'm gonna save it for a little bit later, but it's this really nice deep grungy vibe with like some taupey things and reds and greens. Very different color story, and one palette by the brand that caught my eye years ago when it first launched is the Bloom palette, and they now do a small version of it. And I'm like, that's ingenious, because I don't need those really big round pans that they did. So this is a blue, green, purple color story with some teals. We know how I feel about blue, greens, and purples. So I need to try this, I feel. So this is definitely one that is on the wish list to be trying very soon. This next brand, I'm not sure whether they are indie or drugstore or how I should categorize them because I had never heard of this brand. It is a brand that was recommended by one of you guys. It's Onnotino, which is another like European-based website that sells loads of different brands. And the brand is called Nuba. And they have this urban soul palette. And like, for the fall time, it's this perfect grungy vibe. It has this mustard inside it. I think they have 3 or 4 palettes. They are a little bit more expensive for drugstore. And Notino has a lot of drugstore brands, but they also sell some higher end things. I have personally never heard of this brand, so I'm not fully sure whether they are indie or not. But at some point this year, I would like to place an order for this because I definitely think it will be something I might enjoy. An indie brand I have never tried, and I've put some of their palettes on my wish list before, and then before I could budget for them, they were sold out, but now they're doing this. It's Martina Cosmetics, and this is the T-Choy? I don't know how to say this word. Silver palette, and it's this like 5 or 6 span like rectangular palette with cool tones. And I was like, I want that. I want to try the brand, but a lot of their palettes are these really big, bulky, 60-euro palettes, and that's sort of like the thing that put me off. It very much reminds me aesthetically of what Jeffree Star used to do with like the Blue Blood palette and those kind of things, which I used to own in the past. It's very much styled in a similar way, but this seems slim and nice, easy to handle packaging. So I was like, Martina Cosmetics. They're Belgian, by the way, as well. So I know I could pick this up quite easily because I have found that they have a website and they ship to the Netherlands. So I wouldn't have to go through Beauty Bay, but that's where I found this one. Sometimes I like to like have a dig around some like beauty websites to see what's out there, if there's anything I missed, because of course I keep track of newer makeup releases by doing my monthly series on here. But I do feel that sometimes things like fall through the cracks, you know, and then I like to dig around and see, and this is one that I found that way, just having a mooch on a dreary like Wednesday night, and I found this palette. I was like, ooh, that might be something I might want to try. But yeah, again, if the Melt and the Sigma go into stock, I want to place an order on Beauty Bay, and then I might throw this one into the same order just for funsies, but not one that I'm just going to place an order for. I don't feel it is that unique that I really need to run out and get it. You know what I mean? Another brand where I'm not entirely sure whether they are considered to be indie or not, but I definitely, like, again, they only have a website that they sell through, so they don't really feel like this big conglomeration of like beauty brands that they're part of, and it's M Cosmetics, and this is the Saturn palette. I have one of the M Cosmetics palettes already, and I do really enjoy the quality. They just haven't really done anything that was super cool toned. So when they announced this at the end of 2023, I was like, right, I'm gonna have a dig through the M Cosmetics website to see if there's anything else from the brand I'd like to get. And I saw that they had released some other products over the years, because I think it's been 2 or 3 years since I shopped from the brand, because since they only have a US-based website, it's really expensive to buy from them. So I may want to place an order for this and like budget for it and see whether I can rope this palette in with some other purchases, because there's definitely enough on my wish list to like stick to the threshold to not be hit with too many taxes, but that I still have enough to make the order worthwhile, because that's the way I feel with M Cosmetics. I would never place an order for just this one product if you're in Europe. It's not worth it. And that's the only reason why I'm a little bit hesitant about the Dole 10 palette. I'm going to put the picture up on the screen here. I always forget to name. I think it's just called Palette 3 or something like that. It has a pretty basic name. But they announced this again, I think at the end of 2023 when we were getting all the cool tones, and I felt very overwhelmed. So I kind of put this one on the back burner thinking I will get that in like the springtime. So this is one where I need to like figure it out. I have found that they ship to the Netherlands, so that's good. But again, based in the US, so I'm going to have to pay the shipping and handling fees. And I'm still a little bit on the fence, because adding the shipping and handling fees will automatically make this twice as expensive, pretty much doubling the cost of the palette. And I'm like, do I want to do that? Yes or no? It very much reminds me of the Stila palettes we used to have a couple of years ago. So do I want this? Do I not? I'm not entirely sure. Again, with Dole 10, I'm not entirely sure whether they are indie or not. I have no clue, but this is a brand I've never tried before, and when they launched this palette, I very much wanted to try it. It's just, I'm still like trying to talk myself into buying it, because I'm not sure whether it's going to be worth it. I don't know enough about the brand. I only really know that Jen Phelps does some content with them, and other than that I don't really know anybody else who does anything. And then a brand I've tried before and I was a little bit like not disappointed, but I didn't get from the palette that I had hoped, and it's Glamlite. I've tried 2 of their palettes. The Nocturnal is still in my collection, and then I got their Nude, Nearly Natural, Nearly Nude, I don't remember what the palette was exactly called, and they do the Sugar and Spice. And this is a palette that I put back onto the wish list because when it was announced, it didn't really do much for me. I was like, yeah, looks okay. But then I saw a lot of people featuring it in their eyeshadow palette collection videos that I was watching a lot in March. And that instantly put it on like top tier of the wish list. This is available through Monolith, so I don't have to order it in from Australia. And I was like, you know what? I just want to try the brand again. It's got cooler tone neutrals, some really interesting sparkly, flippy things, and then pastels. The color story feels so random to my brain, but that's why I want to try it. And I think it's going to be pretty for spring, summer-ish. So the Glamlite Sugar and Spice is on the wish list for sure. Then another palette that I kind of put on my wish list and then took it off again, and then I liked the look of it, and then I was like, nah, it's quite expensive, not sure. But so many of you are asking me what I think of this palette, and I haven't tried it, so I can't tell you. It's by Unearthly, and it's the Dreamer palette. So this was also a launch at the end of 2023. It kind of was, again, something I just didn't have the budget for at the time, that I wasn't going to be putting my money towards. As I mentioned, it is expensive. I have mainly some Unearthly palettes from back when they were Alien Cosmetics, and they were about half the price of what they go for now. But now that I've discovered Monolith, and it's a lot easier for me to get them, I was like, you know what? I can wait for this to come back in stock on Monolith and then pick it up, even though it's like 75 euros on there. If I can make like a little bundle with like the Glamlite, the Clarity, and the Unearthly, and then another 2 palettes that I will be mentioning next, then I might be able to like make it work and like get a bit of a deal. Because Monolith has free shipping over 100 euros to my destination, so that's absolutely fine. So very often I will buy like 2 or 3 palettes at the same time from them so that I can get the free shipping and like make it worth it. So the Unearthly Dreamer palette is one that I do want to see if I can get it in like the next couple of weeks or so. And then I mentioned 2 more palettes that are on Monolith that I would like to get. At least one of them isn't on it yet, but it should come with their next restock. So the first one is Gourmand Girls, the Nightshade palette. Again, I'm going back and forth on this one. Every single time I look at it, I want it, but then there's always like something that holds me back. So Gourmand Cosmetics is an indie brand I've never tried before. It will be my first palette from them. The Nightshade is the one with like the purpley tones, and that still looks really nice to me. I just think that if they come out with something again in the next couple of months, like I think like July, August time, we'll probably already get some like Halloween releases being announced. And I'm thinking that Gourmand Girls is going to be having some new releases for the fall time for sure. So I may want to wait for those and then pick those up later, if you know what I mean. But the final palette I wanted to mention is the Adept and Amy Loves eyeshadow palette that has just been announced. It should be coming to Monolith next Sunday with their new drop, and I hope I can pick it up. I'm not entirely sure yet. Because there are some other things I want to get, and I don't want to blow all of my budget in like one go first day of the month, you could say. So this is definitely one I do want to try. It looks like a really pretty cool tone palette. I saw her swatching it out, and on her skin tone, some of the mattes that I feel in the pan look very, very dark don't seem too dark on her, and she's also very fair. So I might like it after all, but like that's the only thing that sort of made me go like, really? Because some of those like neutrals like all look to be near black, but her swatches look pretty okay, so I can't wait to try it. But I hope it stays in stock for like a week or 2, because then I know I will be able to like make the purchase for sure. Next Sunday I don't think I'll already have the funds to be able to say like, okay, this is what I'm going to be buying for like the next haul that's coming up. So yeah, I definitely want to buy it, but it may go out of stock. Adept usually sells out really quickly on Monolith, so I may have to wait for like another 1 or 2 restocks. However, they are really good at restocking Adept as well, I have found. You just need to be on the website, on the dot, when it launches, I find, to get certain things. And I'm just hoping that with some of the things I want to get, that's not the case right now. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, those are all of the palettes that are currently on my wish list from indie brands. Definitely have a couple of other things that I would like to get as well, but this is my current wish list. Let me know in a comment down below what is on your wish list. What are you hoping to get? And stay tuned for the rest of the week, because every single video that is going live will all be about indie brands and indie eyeshadow palettes. So I hope you look forward as much to it as I do, and then I hope to see you in my next video. Bye bye!